Okay. So last class, we did the leg, and today we are going to work on. Let's see if this position's right. Everything's right. We're gonna work on the foot. So I want to move. I'm gonna move this guy down. As usual, we're gonna start with a Z-sphere. All right, I'm gonna go on the side view, like so. Scale this bad boy down. Let's move it right like so. And then I'm going to use the draw tool to then draw another Z-sphere. All right. I'm going to use this. I'm going to move this right here. Scale. All right. And, you know, the reference that I'm using is the reference that I gave you guys. So you guys should have all of these references. Right? The references are provided to you inside of your sculpting the leg in ZBrush PDFs that have been sent to your emails. All right. So let's continue to draw. I might give this guy a little bit of heft there. Let's move this guy in place. All right. And then draw. And then move. And if I hit 1 on the keyboard and click, it'll make another one. Oops. Just gonna move this guy. This guy. All right, now we can address the toes. Oops, I'm just gonna move this a little further. All right, so we've got our tarsals, metatarsals, and then phalanges. All right, so when I say tarsals, this group of bone, they're called your tarsals, right? And then you've got your metatarsals, and then you've got your phalanges, right? These are the individual digits that make up your fingers and toes. All right, so we're going to start by drawing one like that. Let's move this guy over. I'm going to draw again. Oops. Let's go forward 1. I just kind of want to move this guy a little bit over. All right, and then 2. Let's not make them too big now. Oh. All right. So now I can go back and grab these and scale them up. Scale them up. Draw this guy like so. draw again. Let's add one more so I can move this guy. There we go. Whoops. All I'm doing is holding down control. And I'm trying to avoid some of these, whenever you see it ghost, it means you can have an issue with how it's going to do that part. So I'm holding down control so I can, I'm controlling, I'm kind of isolating it to this region and whatever is along with it. All right, I can do the same for that. And you guys can see I'm going through all the different angles just to make sure that everything is in the right portion. All right, so move this guy. Right. And you can still go ahead and scale this up how you need to. So move this guy out of the way. As you guys can see, Alt Control will allow you to kind of move some of these guys and all right. I'm going to scale this guy up a little bit too. All right, draw another one right here. And draw one on top. And then Control. Alt to move this guy out. And Control to wiggle the toe. You can wiggle the toe a little bit. A little toe wiggle never hurt nobody. Right. And as you guys can see, like once you do the underlying work, as you just take a little bit of time to do the underlying work, the sculpting part of it becomes just a little bit easier. All right. So what I'm doing now, you guys can see, is I'm just going through all of the bones just to show you guys. All right. This is how you would do it from scratch. If I'm being 100% with you guys, if I'm being honest with you guys about like industry work, a lot of times they're going to give you a base mesh. And what I mean by base mesh is they're going to give you a starting point. And then you just need to make it look like the reference they give you, right? So like a lot of stuff like this is to help you guys understand how to sculpt in general, right? Whether or not you have a template or something, you know, because a lot of the stuff that I've done is, all right, because when you're coming into the job, it's not like you're making up how their characters are going to look or how they're sculpted, unless you're the concept artist. And if you're the concept artist, that's all you're doing is the concept, right? But if you're a 3D guy, right, they've probably got a lead 3D guy who's already gone through and go, all right, this is how a basic female in this world looks. This is how a basic male in this world looks. This is how our pipeline for the base mesh is. This is how our pipeline for a character is, right? And you're just adapting to how they do it. So they're going to give you a lot of that stuff up front. You know, you might get a case on a job if it's like a freelance, a one-time thing where they're like, all right, we need you to do everything from scratch. We don't have anything, right? Because, you know, when I work, they'll send me a sculpt of LeBron, or they'll send me a sculpt of, you know, Sonic or something, and they'll go, hey, we need you to match this or match that. And that's a lot of the character work that you're gonna get, you know, because these guys already have their own IP. They already have how tall the character's supposed to be, how big the hands are supposed to be, how big the toes, the foot, you know, everything is usually already mapped out, right? And it's usually called a look Bible, right? There's a look Bible, there's a dev Bible that people have, and they'll usually give you the Bible and go, all right, or they'll give you a section that is relevant to whatever you're working on, go, all right, this is what we do, this is how we do it. Can you accomplish this? You know, and that's what your job is to accomplish what they give you. So yeah, it's a fun gig, man. If you can find one, it's a really fun gig. You just got to be on your P's and Q's. You got to be on your toes. Pun not intended, but works. But you know, you just have to be on your game, you know, because they don't want to pay you 3 times to do one character, right? They don't want to go, oh, well, that's wrong, we need to do this. They want to know that when I give you something, you're going to nail it, hopefully in the first try. You know, they might be very lenient with you if it's your first week on the job or something, or, you know. But once you get past that probationary period, they're expecting you to be acclimated to how they do things, right? And that's what that's another thing that I run into with artists a lot is artists feel like their art is like the greatest thing since sliced bread, so that they feel like when I say something to the client, or when I say something that should be so heavily weighted over what is the vision of the client's work. When in reality, when somebody's paying you, what you're going to find is they have their own vision in mind. Unless they're calling you or saying, hey, I need you to consult with me. I need you to, you know, go back and forth with me on this character or this. They already have it in mind. Your job is to pull it out of them, right? They already have it, you know, and your input is welcome, but it's not the end all be all. Because at the end of the day, it's their product, it's their name, it's their stuff, right? Don't be so married to other people's IPs that you can't get out of your own way, right? You don't want to be like, oh, well, if you do it like this, it's going to be much better and you'll make do. Well, what if that's not what they want to do? What if they want to do is they've got a market audience, they've got a market cap, they've got people that they're specifically looking at and targeting for it, and that's what those people look for or want. well, then you failed because you went and did something that you thought was fancier and cooler and better when they just asked you for what they asked you for, right? If somebody asks me for a piece of paper, I'm gonna give them a piece of paper. I'm not gonna go, maybe you need a canvas because you would like to paint and the canvas is stronger than paper and it'll do this. And I'm like, no, I asked you for a piece of paper. Deliver me my piece of paper. And that's what I want artists to get out of that mindset of being married to all of these things that you're doing. Unless it's your IP, right? Unless it's your product, unless it's your baby, unless it's your work or you're gonna put it out to market, you're the owner of it, you're the everything on it. Do what they pay you to do. Do the job. Because I have honestly made that mistake of being like, you know what? I could put some more of this here. I could do this. I could bow. I could, there's sometimes when it's good to show initiative like that. But a lot of the times in high stress, the minutes that you're putting into the extra zhuzhing or extra this, that, and the bells and the whistles could have been put onto a task that would progress the project a little further, right? You could have put that towards a task that would make their lives a little easier, your lives a little easier. But instead, you wanted to go on a vanity project and do this extra, and I've gotten reamed out for it. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I got my ass chewed out. I got chewed out. Like, when we ask you to do something, don't put your extra 2 cents on it. Just do it. There's a reason a lot of the times that these things are done the way they are. You as an artist need to just check your ego at the door. Just check it. Leave if you know what? Don't check it at the door. Leave your ego at home, because if you check it at the door, if you go on break, you might go outside and get it. Right? Leave your ego at home. When you're working for other people, it's not about you anymore. Right? They might pretend like, oh my God, you're such a valued. Nah, they've got art directors for that. They've got lead everything. You as an entry level employee you're not finna come in and take the lead director or the lead producer you're not finna take their gig. And if you show them up, like, yo, the truth is people don't like that. If you go, like I've had people go, they'll come in. Imagine if you go into a job and you're being hired by like the lead director. I've had friends who go, they'll go, okay, so what do you want to be in the future? And they'll literally go, I want to do your job. I want to be the director. I want to be this. What chance do you think you have of getting hired at that job if you just walk in and go, oh, I want your job. I want to be the director of the company one day, blah, 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 blah. You go, oh, perfect. That's awesome. Yes. I actually hate eating food. I actually hate paying my bills. And I actually want you to succeed over me. That's what I want. Of course. No. They will get your ass out of there so fast, your head will spin. So I'm telling y'all, oh man, I'm the best. I'm Da Vinci. You not that. Somebody's already doing that job and they're probably really good at it, right? So what you want to do is become an integral part of their ecosystem where what you do is almost irreplaceable, right? You're good. You're this guy, Hey, you're the funny guy. That could be a role in the office, But you want to have a thing that you're the good art guy. You're the good, 3ds Max guy. You're the Revit guy. You're the, you want to be that person in an organization, because what an organization, it's a team. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, and trying to travel in the same direction. If you don't have the same goals, if you don't have the same future, if you don't have the same, you're not trying to get us to the same position, it's not gonna work, right? Because the owner of the company has a vision. The art director has a vision, right? I guarantee you the trash guy has a vision. But you know whose vision matters the most? The owner of the company. That's whose vision matters. The director, that's whose vision matters. You, the lowly, you're paid to do a job. You're paid to do a certain level of work, right? And if one day it does arise where, you know, you've got to step in and be that guy, that's awesome. But you need to know that going into somebody's office and going, I want your job, or I'm going to be you in 10 years, they're going to get your ass up out of there real quick. They're going to get you up out of there. You know, like, as much as you like to think, people do not like competition. That's one thing you will realize. People do not like competition. It's almost like they have a self-interest to preserve their interest. It's almost like that. It's kind of like that, you know? So I just advise you guys, check your egos at home, because if you check it at the door, you might go outside and get it later. All right? Check your egos at home. Don't even bring it to the office. If somebody goes, this is bad, change it. Don't go, well, this is the best drawing ever. This is the best sculpt ever. I could never do it wrong. You go, how can I fix it? Show me what you need me to do. What can make it better, right? Go in with an open mind. Go in with, hey, I'm learning. I can still learn. I'll never stop learning. If you go into that mindset, you will be so valued, because people are going to want to pour into you. They're going to want to, like, okay, this is how we do it. This is you know, this is how you can get it to the right place. Not be defiant and obstinate about your work and go, I'm the best to ever do it. And if you don't see the greatness in my work, then you're obviously an idiot. Like, come on, bro. Like, you're not like that. You're not like that, you know, and that's the thing. It's like, people always just misunderstand their roles in organization. You know, everybody's the main star. Everybody's the lead in the movie, right? Everybody's the lead. You know, and that's good. You know, it's good to have kind of that confidence in your work, right? Because confidence is important for you to become a better artist. You know, it's important, but you need to stop that confidence before it becomes arrogance, and, you know, it kind of becomes detrimental to you, right? Because nobody's going to want to work with the arrogant guy. The confident guy, everybody likes the confident guy. Nobody likes the arrogant asshole. Trust me. I'm speaking from experience. Nobody likes the arrogant asshole. They like the nice guy. The nice guy's cool, you know? And he's nice. Easy to like. So that's my little industry rant right there. It's my little industry take it easy now. It's not. All right, so I'm just moving these in the right place. I want to kind of get a decent scale on them, just so I don't have to do too much. And, you know, like, I'm going back and forth, right? So now I want to look at how these guys are intertwining. So I might scale these up. All right, so this is a good start. Good start right here. Just a little bit over. Maybe if you hold down Alt, right, it isolates whatever you've got selected. So now if I move it around, I'm only moving around this piece, just in case you guys didn't know. So that's what I'm doing. I'm using that to isolate, move around all of our little nobular, little phalanges, or dancing phalanges. If you have a kid, you know what I'm talking about. And that's for everything too. So like if I need to just scale up this, I'm just gonna hold down Alt and I can scale it up. All right. Move this, use that to move it around. All right, another thing I want to look at is what you'll notice with toes is how they fit in. Scale this guy. So this is a decent start. We can work with something like this. And right now I'm not even using I'm not using the Wacom tablet. I'm just using my mouse and keyboard. I'm just looking at the silhouette on this, you know, just making sure I'm getting silhouette stuff right, you know. Like if you look up here, you can see what the silhouette looks like, to see how that looks. So that's always a good indicator of what's going on. Just gonna move this over a little bit. Right, as you guys can see, right, if I move it, I can see it in real time. What's going on? All right. All right, so now we can scroll down, adaptive skin, preview. Ooh. Let's reduce this all the way down to 0. Preview it again. The cankles are cankling for sure. For shizzle. Let's go. This might be a little too small. Well, I'm gonna go with a density of 2, a Dynamesh resolution of 0. All right. Turn off this preview and yeah, let's reduce the canklage going on here. And you can turn on the transparency to see what's going on. And you know, if you get just the underlying structure right, you build it right, right? That's why the foundation of anything is super important. Right? If you get the foundation right, everything else kind of builds on top of each other that way. Let me scale this down a little bit more. All right. Let's go preview now. Now this is okay for now, so we're just going to make this an adaptive skin. And as usual, if I scroll back up here, boom, we've got our, we should have our adaptive skin right here. Alright, so now this is actually super hideous, but you know, that's where we start. We start here and then we just keep going. Alright. So now this is when you can switch over to your pen tablet and then start the process of kind of shaping this guy. All right. Reduce smoothing a little bit. All right. BMV, we can use the move tool a little bit. Way too much. All right, let's now take a look at how maybe we can make the geometry it's a little bit better. All right, so I want to take a look at this inner versus the outer ankle relationship. What you'll notice is, so let's do a BCB. Is that your ankle actually it's like this. There's an angle. Right, there's an angle to that relationship. All right. Just gonna use a little more clay buildup. Let's reduce the size here a little bit. All right. Turn this off. Right, as you guys can see, I'll build slow, smooth out a little bit, build slow, I build a little bit, smooth out, build a little bit, smooth out. Right, it's a back and forth, you know, you guys need to be doing with this stuff. All right, what I see that you guys do is it feels like you guys are just kind of rushing through it to say, hey, I did the assignment, when in reality, you know, that doesn't serve you anything, right? Like you think you're finishing the assignment, but you haven't learned anything. All right, so what you want to do is just take your time. Go back and forth. It's okay. Let's go geometry. I'm going to go to Z-remesher now. I'm going to do the same. And I'm going to Z-remesh and see what I got. All right. So now I already have better topology, right? The the previous topology that I had was pretty atrocious. So now let's add a little more clay. BCT, that's our clay tubes. All right, so with this, let me show you guys the lazy mouse thing. I know one of you guys had a interesting issue with lazy mouse. So here it is. So if I hit L on my keyboard, I've activated my lazy mouse. And if your lazy mouse isn't working, well, what you should do first is you want to go into this stroke tab, turn on this lazy mouse, right here. If it's checked off, turn it on, and then increase the steps a little bit, and then the smoothness, and then the radius. What that will do is you'll see this line, right? And that tells you your lazy mouse is working, because what it's doing is it's smoothing out the distance that your hand is using, or your stroke length. So it's averaging that out and going, all right, instead of me going just like spreading it, I'm going to average it to this kind of thickness. So you're getting something like that, and it's a little smoother. You might not be able to see it just because you can see now, you can see how that works. When if I try to do that same stroke without lazy mouse, I can get, you know, some less than desirable effects. You know, I have a pretty steady hand, so, you know, don't judge me by that. But lazy mouse for new beginners, it's very important, and for old beginners too. You know, like it's a good tool. I like it a lot. It's very useful. Right, it helps you do a lot of stuff. All right, so like I was saying, let's go to my document. No. So let's build a little bit more. All right, so now the next thing I want to do now is I'm going to build some of these tendons and bones into our sculpt, right? Remember, we got a lot of these tendons that are coming from our thigh, our calf, that are wrapping down, right? So if you look at our reference here, you can see how a lot of these, they'll start up in our leg right at the bottom of the knee over here, and they all go into our toes, and they help us kind of flex our toes, move, right? We've got our Achilles tendon that goes right in the back right here. So these are some of the things you're going to want to address in your sculpt, looking at those phalanges, looking at how they interact. If you look here too, you can see how some of those, so I'm going to put those in there, and that'll give us just a little bit more realism. All right, I haven't even talked about like, so let's just start. I'm going to give this a little bit more meat, and for this part of the clay tubes, it's just not, it's not necessary to have there we go. It's not necessary to have some of that. I'm just going to add a little bit more meat to some of this. Increase this. Add. Increase this. Alright, and you're going to get some of this. Let's reduce this, increase the size a little bit so I can further emphasize some of this that I'm doing. Emphasize a little bit. Oh, let's save like this. Let's go down one. And yeah, I changed keyboards like yesterday, so I'm getting some interesting things happen because I changed from like this keyboard that kind of was like a Mac, so it puts, there's a extra command key here, so instead of hitting the command, I'm hitting the space bar. It's so dumb, but I'm dealing with that, and so are you guys apparently. So yeah, I'm just gonna smooth this out a little bit, start adding some meat to our foot here, and you guys see like just the Z-sphere and what I did to it did a lot of the heavy lifting for me, right? The only thing I really need to focus on is the toes and stuff, you know? So that's why when you guys do these, if you guys, you guys set up the foundation of whatever you're sculpting properly, you'll be fine. Like you'll be well on your way. So that's why the foundation is important. Understanding the basics is super important, you know? Right, and the cool thing about this is, oops, I didn't save my polygroups. I should have frozen the polygroups, but it didn't. Let me do. That's another thing you guys should do. Is whenever you're working on some of this, you want to freeze those polygroups so you have those to isolate, because now I don't have the option of isolating it. I can recreate them, but I don't want to spend that time to do that. All right, just to show you how to do it real quick though, if you want to isolate something, right, if I want to isolate this toe, right, I'm going to use, or let me isolate big toe. All right, if I want to isolate this guy, I can set up a polygroup for it. So to set up a polygroup, I don't know if I showed you guys this already. All right, I'm going to, whoops, group masked. So now it's created a polygroup for this. If I hit Alt Control at the same time, or Shift and Control at the same time, it will isolate that new polygroup, and I can then work on it, right? So that is polygroups. And that's good for, if I, boom, I want to isolate that, group masked, then I can go even further, right? So I can go further, I can go boom. All right, so you can just keep masking stuff and adding to things and different things like that. So now I can focus just solely on the toes, right? Just focus solely on the toes, and I want to just kind of make these guys kind of similar size, right? That's all I'm focused on right now. Send this guy down a little bit, increase this guy, and as you guys can see, I'm only working at this really low subdivision. Really low subdivision. It helps. I told you guys it helps. It helps to work really low to begin with, because it gives you that flexibility to create. All right. I'm gonna undo that. Let's turn off our polygroups. Go to my geometry. I can increase this a little bit to 1 or 2, sorry. All right, so another cool little thing that you can do, right, to really, start showing some of this is, let's increase this a little bit. Right? If you wanted to just start throwing in those where you know those knuckles are. All right. I'm just Alt to do the opposite, right? I'm Z adding, right, to add this clay. Z add to add the clay. Alt, right, will do the opposite. It will subtract the clay, right? And I'm starting it subtly because I don't want, I don't know how crazy I really want to go on it yet, right? So maybe make the... One second. Just taking a look at some of the reference, going back and forth. All right. Oops. I'll have to make sure I'm looking at my keyboard because I just set myself back a couple minutes because I accidentally deleted my progress. So now I'm just gonna try to go pretty quick on this guy. Ankle. Alright, what that does is I quickly can quickly just go through. Start filling this in. Just rounding out some of these forms. Alright. Go. All right, you guys can see I build up, smooth back out. Build up, smooth back out. Build up. All right, that's the process. Build it up a little bit, smooth out, build, boom, smooth. All right. Remember, we got the Achilles tendon that comes all the way back down here like so. All right, you can Alt to remove that. BDS. Oh, that's way too much. All right. And now I'm using the Damien standard, kind of like as a creasing brush to crease some of this stuff up. All right. All right, let's go BCT. Just gonna give this, the back, the heel, a little more roundness. A little more roundness. Smooth this bad boy out. Smooth it out, smooth it out. Right. The back of the heel is kind of like this. It's like a semicircle, kind of half donut. Right. So that's kind of how I imagine it. Like it's kind of like this half donut, and if you take it all the way down to the heel, it's a full donut. All right. It's a donut that the Achilles attaches to. All right. And then you've got, boom, that goes into the toe. Let me get that, let that thing do its thing because it messed me up last time. All right, so here's some cool things that you can do. So I think it's N. Is it, what is the, yeah, BIN. This is the inflate brush. It's pretty cool. So if I wanted to, I can use this and then come in here and then kind of inflate, right? Whatever toe I want to inflate, make a little bit bigger, right? If I don't want to use the sculpting tool, I can just kind of inflate it a little bit. We'll puff it up a little bit. You know, I'm going to do that to some of these to give it a little more meat around it. And I'll do the same for the rest of the toes. So, like so, right? And all I'm doing is inflating, right? All I'm doing is inflating our phalanges, right? Just because I just feel like I'm not getting enough. I didn't put enough in the Z sphere. So now I can go back in, right? Add my own flare. Right, we've got our pads. Obviously, we can use the inflate, you know, to kind of give ourselves the pads as well. You know, unless you're, this is one of those things. It's like it's interesting to think about, but how practical is it, right? What game are you going to be working on that like you're going to be seeing the bottom of somebody's foot? But it's always important to kind of know how all this stuff works, you know. So. All right, build up and smooth, right? You guys, at this point, you know the process. And I'm gonna make the ball toe a little bit thicker. Same here, right? Same here. And this is an easier way to kind of get some of that girth, some of that thickness back into our foot, right? Mm-hmm. And building up, smoothing out, building up, smoothing out. All right. So BCT now, I can now go into my build up, right? Oops, start sculpting more into our model here. Give a little bit more. All right, you guys can see, like, once you start getting, you know, put a couple minutes into it, it starts to shape up, you know, starts to really shape up. All right, what I'm trying to do now is just kind of give the indication of the bone that makes it up. Just giving the indication of the bone. Maybe I need to increase this a little bit, right, to really get what looks like the tendons and things that are attaching here, right? I want to get that kind of look to it. Give that kind of look where it's like, oh, okay. Right. And like I said before, you know, with every one of these stages, you want to take it as far as it can possibly go before you take it to the next level. Right, I'm going to stretch this bad boy out. Right, that's what I'm just going to go as far as this level of geo can take me until it can't take me any further, and I hop on the next bus, you know? So the next bus is the next subdivision up. So get some padding down here. All right. All right. As you guys can see, because I'm following those tendons, I'm following all of those little things, you can see that, you know, it's going to start shaping up. And I'm pushing this guy to the max. I'm pushing as far as these guys can go. Right? And remember how they come together, right? There's a little band right here, right? That's this little thing that I'm kind of showing right here, right here, right here. Just a little band, and then they kind of come from here, right? So they come from this band that kind of wraps around. So BDS, let's give this. You can smooth it out. BIN. Just gonna give this a little more meat. Right here. Oops, too much meat. Too much meat. Too much. Let's give it a little more. Right there. And I'm just going back and forth. I'm looking at my model. I'm looking at what is happening in the foot. I'm looking at the reference, right? So I want you guys to be doing the same thing, right? Look at the reference, you know. Let's get more padding right here. Alright, let's try the Z remesher again. Do the same. Alright, so now we should have better topology for our foot. So if you want, you can turn on the lazy mouse here. Alright, let's go BCT. There you go. Alright, and this is why the clay tubes are super cool, because now I can use that to kind of see that I can use that to draw all of these little tendons and stuff. Make it look super straight, clean lines. And I'll smooth it away. Smooth it away. Alright, it's a back and forth process. I'm going to increase the size of my brush. The brackets, they're smooth. Alright. And this kind of, oops. Do the same thing. Subtle, just make it super subtle. Okay. For the fingernails, you can, they're a little rounded at the top. Oops, oops. All right. You guys remember how to create these, right? You're using the mask tool. We go into our subtool panel. We can extract what we just picked. We can extract. That is super thick. It's not. Let me turn off the transparency. Going to use this. Let's try extract. Way too thick. Let's go 0.01. Let's look at that thickness and see what that looks like. Much better. I'm going to increase the smoothing. Let's go extract now. All right. See how much smoother that is? All right. Let's go extract. And then accept. Now we've got these guys. That I'm going to grab. Oops. That's transparency still. And you can, I'm just going to move all of these guys down a little bit. Alright, let's get through this real quick. And I can draw. And the cool thing about when I start to draw is then these kind of act like they're a little more integrated. Alright, so now let's remove that. And I'm just going to start much. Obviously, he's got golem-like feet. All right, you know, for if I, you know, I would obviously, let's go to the clipping brush. So yeah, if I wanted to, I would go in, right? You just go in and you would make some, oops, some more cuts. Let's go polyframe. Let's go, because they're individual, so, like items, right? Like they're individual ones. If you go into your poly groups for these guys, so if you go into poly paint, poly groups. If I do auto group, it'll automatically group them. So now I can go in and, oh, never mind. Creating more auto groups. Let's get out of this. And then we can do something like this. That's obviously hideous, but you guys get the point, where it's like to make it more look more manicured, right? But yeah. And you can, even with the BMV, still kind of move these guys around to get the right kind of shape you're looking for. Go BCB and start to build around it. kind of building a little more meat around the toes. And I'm just going back to the inflate brush just to give it a little more, puff it up a little more. All right. I'm constantly, you can see I'm constantly just going around the entire model, just kind of spinning it around and seeing what's going on, how it's fitting together. Might be a little too much, so I'll knock it back a little bit. Same with these guys, where if you go too hard, you can always kind of pull back a little bit. Some of this stuff. Alright, so this is pretty much the process. I mean, just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth to get yourself right in that sweet spot. And it's going to take a while for you to kind of massage everything into place and get everything where they need to be. But once you start doing, yes, some of these, get some of these kind of wrinkles in there, right? It's not that. All right. Sometimes, you know, you get that little bit of ankle fold that happens when, you know, get that, smooth it out. Alright, it's already 1:57. Does anybody have any questions for me before I send you on your way?
Do we have class next week?
When's spring break? Do we have a spring break, or I don't think so.
I think next week is spring break for us.
You think so? Okay. I need to check. I have not been in the loop with our holidays as I should have been. I don't, you know. I thought it was like for the kids who are like in high school, because I know they have a spring break, but I didn't think I had any high school students in here this semester. But if you guys say it's next week, I'm gonna confirm that over the weekend, and yeah, the next time we'll meet. Is it all next week, or is it Monday? You know, like till Thursday or something.
Let me see right now.
Yeah. Somebody could check so we can all be on the same kind of page for it. That'd be nice.
Yeah, it's from the 10th to the 14th.
10th through the 14th. See what that is. Oh man, so yeah, all next week. No class. What am I gonna do without you guys in my life for a whole week? Alright, I guess I could count birds or something. I don't know. Alright, cool. So this might be the last class for a week, so yeah, you guys do your thing. I'm going to be looking at your threads to see what, you know, characters you guys want to work on, to see which one I will approve. And then we'll work on those together. Sound good? Any other questions? Thank you for that. Thank you, whoever checked that. All right. If you guys don't have any other questions for me, comments, concerns, you're free to leave. I'm gonna finish this guy up and post it online for you guys. Have a great spring break. Don't do anything that I wouldn't do, which isn't a lot, but have fun, relax, get some well-deserved time off. All right. If you guys are free to go. If you want to stay, you're more than welcome to, right? You know, I just don't want to hold you guys if you guys have different, you know, another class or something right after this that you need to be in. You guys can see I'm just kind of following those initial lines, right? I'm taking those lines that I've worked on, the underlying structure, and I'm trying to take them to where they'll naturally go. God, I need to turn on my lazy mouse. Whenever I'm using Damien's, I should start turning on lazy mouse, because I am a lazy mouse myself. Right. Like smooth this out a little bit, so it's not as intense. Alright, so you're putting those tendons in, you're putting the muscles in, you're trying to just kind of learn everything that's going on. BFA. Let's flatten this a little bit just to give it some cooler. I'm just kind of trying to flatten some of these out so it's a little more streamlined. It helps the sculpt look a little bit better. Alright. So, you know, this is good enough for the study for now. Alright. The only thing maybe I would do is if you wanted to, you can go into the toes themselves, right? Divide this. Just give it a little more, zhuzh it up a little bit. Alright, so for some reason, yeah, that's what's going on. Alright, so I've got some stuff is masked and some is not. Alright, so what I want to do is I'm just going to control out of here, and then I've got my mask off, and now I can divide it. Actually, let's do a Z remesh for the same. Let's do half. Half again. The geo's just a little too high. Half of this. Alright, we're getting a little better. Right, and the more I like kind of build around it, it looks more like it's integrated into it, right? You know, you want it to look like it's part of it. Another method is, instead of building it super early, you can wait all the way until you've kind of sculpted out the foot, and then you can kind of add the toenails to it. So, all right, so I want to show you guys a quick how I do like some of these presentation shots. So what I'll do is I've got my subtool right here, and what I can do is because they're two separate subtools, I'm going to merge down. Merge down. This is not an undoable operation. Press OK to continue or cancel to abort. What that means is I can go back in time and change it. Remember that. So I can just hit OK. So now it's kind of merged these guys together. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to duplicate this and then duplicate it again. Now I can go into my move tool, right? I'm going to select this guy. Oops, actually let's I know what the issue is. The issue is that the origin is somewhere else. So let's go. Alright, so this is the issue. Is because that's where my origin is. And the way to change the origin is just to go into the position and then move that around. So now I'm going to grab this one. This one, I'll rotate like so. And then this one, I can rotate like so. And kind of move it over a little bit. Right? And then hit F on the keyboard. I'm just trying to get it all in frame, like so. And then I can do my BPR render from there. Just go best. And then let's go BPR render passes. Boom. Now if I grab my composite of the foot, I've got everything kind of ready to go. All right, so that's my last little tip. Okay, now I've got my stuff saved and ready to post. All right, so that's how I would approach a foot. And yeah, that's it for the class today. I look forward to seeing you guys not next week, but the week after. Have a great spring break. Yeah, see you guys soon.